I woke up to the sound of my own name. A nurse was leaning over me, her face close, her voice careful and measured. "Miss Clara, can you hear me?" I tried to answer. Nothing came out. My throat felt like it had been scraped with sandpaper. My arms were heavy. There was something attached to my left wrist. Tubing, tape, a slow beeping somewhere above my head. "You're in the ICU," she said. "You've been unconscious for 2 days. You're stable now." I closed my eyes again. When I opened them the second time, the room was brighter. A different nurse was checking the monitor beside my bed. I watched her for a moment before she noticed I was awake. "Good morning," she said. "How are you feeling?" "What happened?" I said. My voice came out thin and foreign. "You collapsed at your workplace," she said. "A colleague called the ambulance. You were brought in immediately. The doctors ran tests. You had a severe cardiac episode. You are lucky your colleague acted quickly." I lay there and tried to understand that sentence. Cardiac episode. I was 34 years old. "My emergency contact," I said. "Was she called?" The nurse checked something on her tablet. "Yes, your sister. She was notified within the first hour." I looked at the ceiling. "My name is Clara Miles. I am 34 years old. I have worked at the same architecture firm for 9 years, managed my own finances since I was 22, and for the last 6 years I have lived alone in a 1-bedroom apartment that I chose specifically because it was quiet. My sister Dana is 3 years older than me. She has 2 children, a husband who travels for work, and a voice that fills every room she enters. When our mother died 4 years ago, Dana became the center of our family the way a sun becomes the center of a system. Everything orbited around her schedule. Her needs, her opinion on how things should be done and who deserved, what and who had contributed enough. I had long ago accepted that I was not the priority. When our mother was in the hospital during her final weeks, Dana made the decisions, received the condolences, stood at the center of every room. I sat beside my mother's bed in the evenings and held her hand, and no one particularly noticed. That was how it had always worked between us. Dana was visible. I was present. But this was different. I had been unconscious for 2 days. I looked at my phone when the nurse brought it to me from the bedside drawer. 14 missed calls, 11 from my aunt, 2 from a colleague named Marcus who had been the one to call the ambulance. 1 from Dana, 1 voice note. I pressed play. Her voice came through immediately, casual, slightly rushed. "Clara, I just heard. I hope you're okay. Listen, I genuinely cannot come right now. The kids have school in the morning and Daniel is traveling until Thursday, so there is no one to manage the house. I am sure the doctors are handling everything. Send me an update when you can. Get well soon." I played it once more. Then I put the phone face down on the blanket. The doctor came in that afternoon. Young, calm, efficient. He explained what had happened. A sudden arrhythmia, electrical misfiring in the heart. Completely unpredictable, not necessarily permanent. He said they would monitor me for another 4 days minimum. He asked if my diet had been irregular lately, if I had been under significant stress, if I had been sleeping properly. I answered honestly, yes to all 3. He asked if anyone would be coming to stay with me. "I will manage," I said. He nodded once and left. That evening, my aunt arrived. She had driven 3 hours from her city and was standing outside the ICU waiting room when I answered her call. I told her she did not need to come. She told me she was already there. She sat beside my bed for 2 hours and did not say much. She brought me food in a small container wrapped in foil. She fixed the pillow behind my head without being asked. When she left, she held my hand for a moment and said nothing at all, and that was enough. It was more than enough. Dana did not come that day, or the next, or the day after that. On the morning of my 3rd day in the ICU, Marcus came during his lunch break. He stood near the door looking uncomfortable the way people do when they have never visited a hospital before and are not sure what the right expression is. He had brought a coffee for himself and then realized halfway down the corridor that I probably could not have one, and so he drank it outside and came in empty-handed and apologized for that. I told him he had nothing to apologize for. He had called the ambulance. He had probably saved my life. He looked at the floor when I said that. I just did what anyone would do, he said. I did not tell him that no, not everyone does. Some people send a voice note and go back to managing the house. On the fourth morning, a woman knocked on my door. Professional, composed, carrying a small folder tucked under her arm. Ms. Miles, I am from the hospital billing and insurance department. I need to speak with you about something sensitive. Do you have a few minutes? I sat up straighter against the pillow. Yes. She sat in the chair beside the bed and opened the folder carefully on her lap. We submitted your claim to your insurance provider on the day you were admitted. Standard procedure. The claim was flagged within 24 hours. Flagged for what? I said. A duplicate claim, she said carefully. Your insurance number was used to file a separate medical claim 3 weeks ago. A different hospital. A different patient name listed. But your policy number and your identification details attached. The room felt very still. Someone filed a false insurance claim using my information, I said. Yes, she said. The investigation is already open on the insurance provider's end. But we are required to inform the policyholder directly. That is why I am here. Do you know who filed it? I said. The claim listed an alternate contact, number as the policyholder. Representative, she said. She read it out slowly. I knew that number. I had called that number my entire life. It was Dana's number. I asked the woman to leave the folder with me. She did. I sat with it open in my lap for a long time after she left. I thought about the last 3 years. The times Dana had asked to borrow my insurance card for her children's checkups. Just temporarily, she said. Just easier this way. The times she had asked me to forward my policy documents by email because she wanted to compare plans for her own family. The time she had said she needed a copy of my identification for a school enrollment form, and I had photographed it and sent it without a second thought, because she was my sister, because it did not occur to me to think about it. I sat in that hospital bed and I went back through every moment. I had handed her something without asking why. There were more than I had realized. I called a lawyer that evening from my bed. A woman I had worked with briefly during a property dispute 2 years earlier. I explained what I had in front of me. She told me to keep the folder, photograph every page, and not to contact Dana yet. Let the insurance investigation proceed first, she said. It will build the record faster than anything you say to her directly. If she knows you have this, she will start preparing a story. I did exactly what she said. I lay in that hospital bed for 3 more days, and I did not call Dana. I photographed the folder. I sent the images to my lawyer. I answered the insurance investigators' questions when they called. I spoke carefully and said only what I knew for certain. Dana called me on the 5th day. Her voice was warm, quick, slightly breathless the way it always was when she was performing normally. Clara, how are you? Are you out yet? I have been meaning to come, but this week has been completely impossible. I am still admitted, I said. Still? It has been almost a week. Cardiac monitoring, I said. They are being thorough. Right, she said. Well, you know how hospitals are. They keep you longer than necessary. You are probably completely fine by now. Dana, I said. Yes? Is there anything you need to tell me? A pause, brief but real. What do you mean? About my insurance, I said. About my documents. Another pause, longer this time. I counted 4 full seconds. I don't know what you are talking about, she said. Her voice had changed. The warmth had gone out of it. What was left was flat and careful. The insurance company is investigating a duplicate claim filed under my policy number. 3 weeks ago, I said. The contact number listed as the policyholder representative belongs to you. Dana. Silence. That must be some kind of error, she said finally. It must be, I said. The investigators will sort it out. She started to say something else. I ended the call. I set the phone down on the blanket and looked out the window. The city was gray and moving outside. Cars, people, everyone going somewhere. I had been lying in this bed for 5 days, and my sister had sent 1 voice note and filed a false insurance claim under my name. I did not cry. I had stopped crying about Dana a long time ago. What I felt instead was something settling, Something going quiet and firm in my chest. The way a decision feels when you have already made it and you are just waiting for your body to catch up. The investigation took 6 weeks. The insurance company recovered full documentation. A claim of $61,000 had been filed under my policy for a medical procedure I had never undergone at a hospital I had never visited. The paperwork had been submitted using my identification, details, and signed off with a digital authorization traced to an email address created using a variation of my name. My lawyer filed a formal complaint. The insurance company pursued a fraud case simultaneously. Dana called 4 more times over those 6 weeks. I did not answer. My aunt called once to tell me Dana had told the rest of the family it was a clerical error, something the insurance company had confused, a misunderstanding that was being blown completely out of proportion. My aunt asked me quietly whether she should believe that. No, I said. She was quiet for a moment on the other end of the line. I did not think so, she said. She did not ask me to let it go. She did not tell me Dana was family and family forgives. She just said she was there if I needed anything, and then we talked about something else entirely, and I was grateful for that, more than I could explain. The case settled without going to court. Dana agreed to full repayment of the fraudulent claim amount plus all legal costs. She signed a formal acknowledgement of liability. Her insurance broker license, which I had not even known she held, was suspended for 2 years pending a regulatory review. She never called to apologize. What she did was send a message through my aunt 3 weeks after the settlement. It said, "You always made everything so difficult." I read it once. I put my phone down on the desk. I sat in my apartment, at the small table near the window that looks out over the street, and I thought about the hospital ceiling, the beeping monitor, the voice note she sent after 2 days of silence. Get well soon. My credit record was fully cleared 8 weeks after discharge. I changed everything. New insurance policy issued in my name only. New identification documentation filed with every institution. New passwords on every account. New everything. My aunt visited once a month. We had tea at the kitchen table, and she never asked me to forgive anyone, and I never asked her to take sides, and it was the cleanest relationship I had in my life. I went back to work 14 weeks after the day I collapsed in the office hallway. My colleagues had signed a card. Marcus had written 2 lines in the corner in small, careful handwriting. He said he was glad I was back. He said the office had been quieter without me, and not in a good way. I kept the card in the top drawer of my desk. Some mornings I thought about what it means to hand someone your documents, your policy numbers, your identification, the things that carry your name through the world. I had handed Dana all of it without a second thought, because she was my sister, because I had spent my whole life assuming that love meant safety. I understood now that those are 2 completely different things. You can love someone and still not be safe with them. You can be someone's family and still be the person they take from when they think no one is watching. I knew that now. I had paid for that knowledge with $61,000 and 2 days unconscious, in a hospital bed with no one beside me. But I had paid it once. I had learned it fully, and I would not be paying it again.